of you. Welcome to the seventh edition of South Asian Digital Travel Conversation. Thank you for supporting us and constantly encouraging us with your feedback on these wonderful discussions we are having regarding the hospitality and travel tourism industry across South Asia. This evening, we have our panel representing Bangladesh, Maldives, Sri Lanka, and India. The topic for today is opening to a new normal. So something that is on the mind of a lot of people in the industry as well as who are in touch with the industry. So a question that is like what something new that we all have to get used to. And on the panel today, we have Mr. Joseph, CEO and Managing Director of Unimondo Travel and Leisure Private Limited. Mr. Joseph is a hotelier by profession with over 25 years of experience in the tourism industry. He is an expert in hotel management and he also consults for hospitality, sales and marketing. He is also the founder of Holiday Kerala, a travel company that specializes in holidays to Kerala. And also has branched out into other destinations across the world. So Mr. Joseph also, we are proud to say that he was on chairman of the jury for SATA 2016 and 2017. Next, we have Mr. Ramesh Vidanarachchi, head of sales, Ramada by Wyndham, Colombo. Mr. Ramesh, having experience in multiple fronts of the hospitality industry, is now heading the sales division of Ramada Colombo by Wyndham Group. He is also specialized in human resources to sales and revenue management He has been in the industry and garnered over 10 years of experience. Next, we have Mr. Murad Hassan, Director of Business Development, Villa Hotels and Resorts, the Maldives. Mr. Murad is a successful professional with over 17 years experience in the tourism marketing in Maldives. His specialties include hotel and resort contracting, destination marketing and promotion, online sales and marketing strategy. Also business development for online travel marketing, and he offers consultancy in the same line. He was most recently working as the Director of Market Management at Agoda for Malaysia and the Maldives. Then we have Mr. Taslim Amin Shovon. He's the CEO of Bizcon Holidays. Mr. Taslim is the CEO of tour operator Bizcon Holidays and a former director of Tour Operators Association of Bangladesh. Armed with a master's in business administration from the AIGB, he's also a member of the Tourism Standing Committee and the Federation of Bangladesh Chamber of Commerce and Industry. A big welcome to all of you, and to introduce my co-hostess, Ms. Shani from the Maldives National Television. She will be taking on from here. Over to you, Shani.
Thank you, Suraj, and welcome everyone. I hope everyone's ready for the questions. So I'll start with the Welcome everyone. I hope you can hear me now.
Yep.
Okay, so I'll start with the questions with you, Mr. Kerala has been an exception in controlling the crisis, but we would like to know you, as Mr. Suraj just mentioned, you are an expert in Kerala holidays. So what has been your biggest challenge in navigating the COVID-19 pandemic today?
Hi, Shani, and good evening, everyone. Yes, it's true. The state of Kerala, the government has received praises from across the world for its prompt responding and effectively handling of the COVID-19 pandemic. However, the state now faces some considerable challenges as it has eased restriction to allow some economic activities to resume. The rise in cases now return as the state faces challenges on multiple fronts. I have three main points to say. One is regarding the return of migrants Second is the challenge of the upcoming monsoon season and the economic crisis. Kerala has a significant expectant population across the world, and the state have been anticipating and planning for the return since the beginning of the COVID. We had almost flattened the curve steadily with no new cases reported in several continuous days until the return of non-resident Keralites from across the globe to the state triggered a spike, leading to an increase in active cases again. This inflow of returnees is expected to continue at least for a few more months, probably till the end of the year. Second challenge is a monsoon season in the Kerala State Disaster Management Authority has kept an alert on all district administration and the local self-government institutions to get ready to deal with the monsoon while fighting COVID-19. The Indian Meteorological Department, IMD, has predicted that we are likely to have an unusual, above normal monsoon this year. Why the monsoon is a challenge? Because in the last two monsoons, the state witnessed flood of the century and landslides across the state. And we have lost over 500 lives put together in 2018 and 19. From the floods and landslides. With predictions of unusual heavy monsoon, the state health department has prepared a protocol on dealing with the COVID-19 patients separately when you are rehabilitating people due to monsoon. Like the aged ones and those who are already ill have to be reaccommodated and have to be accommodated separately. Finally, the economic crisis. Kerala tourism, which yield an annual income of 45,000 crore, is estimated to lose about 20,000 crore or more based on how long we take to recover the crisis. Almost 1 lakh people have lost their job across various sectors in tourism. The return of lakhs of migrants from abroad have severe impact on our remittance, which amount to nearly 25% of the state GDP. Coupled with loss in production, job, services due to lockdown, reverse multiple impact of remittance is going to have a major impact on the economy, particularly in the service sector. Therefore, in spite of very successfully handling the COVID-19 pandemic in phase 1, the state is facing challenges. However, things are still under complete control as every possible infected individual is tracked, his contacts are tracked, and whomever he have contacted with is also quarantined. This was the step that the state took right from the beginning, and this have helped us avoid social spreading of the virus. Thank you, Shani.
Thank you, Mr. Jose. And now we'll go to Sri Lanka, to Mr. Ramesh. Sri Lanka has also been exemplary on controlling the crisis and has announced reopening the gates for international travel. What actions are you taking now to ensure you're ready to get leisure and business travelers back once we're out of the crisis window?
Yeah, thank you, Sean. And thank you for the opportunity given for the SATA team as well. And as all are aware, Sri Lanka faced a bigger challenge last year with the East attack. So with the recovery period, this is another bigger challenge, which I would say the whole world had to face, and mainly it was a bigger challenge for the hospitality industry. So as everyone's aware, Sri Lankan government took steps from the start itself to control the situation, to keep a better control. And for about another, when we think of the last 3 weeks, we didn't have any public situations, incidents reported from out of, other than the migrants who are coming from the quarantine centers. So therefore, I think the situation is very well controlled by the government at the moment. And with reference to the travels that we are expecting, the government has announced that the airport will be open for all the international travels from 1st of August, which is a great measure which has been taken for the industry and also for the country. And yet again, at the moment, as Mr. Jose mentioned, the government takes the necessary steps in order to take the measures to send the migrants who are stuck within the country, and also to get the locals who are in other countries as well. So at the moment, government has given all the specific instructions and the safety measures which need to be taken, from the airport to public transport to hotels, and with all the accommodation guidelines because for the hotels, all the guidelines has been given from the Ministry of Tourism. And also, if I would take us as Ramada Hotel, we are taking measures with consideration of the local authorities, and also the guidelines which has given by the brand as well. So Wyndham also taking necessary steps for all the properties worldwide to make sure that we all in one phase of keeping the quality and the control, and also assuring the safety of the guests who are residing with us.
Thank you, Mr. Ramesh. And now to come into Maldives, where I am, Mr. Murad. How are you seeing the destination promoted and positioned for the new normal? And will this cater good for the MICE tourism sector? Mr. Murad, you're on mute.
All right. So let's break it down into two pieces. First one is how is the tourism, destination promoted, and how it is being positioned. We have a strategic need right now to bring that message of one island, one resort concept to the forefront of our national messaging for destination promotion. That'll be the initial positioning that I think we should see, because this is by natural setup, Maldives is uniquely placed in this position where we can say that resorts are one island, one resort, that actually emanates the sense of security and safety that people are looking for in the first place. That means we will have to replace the sunny side of life, or at least let it take backseat for now until we actually are out of this situation. Having said that, we know that National Tourist Board has been doing a tremendous job over the last few years. They have been able to get the message across, and a unified message across to bring our positioning and branding correctly done. But right now it needs a change, and you have seen what happened over the last few weeks to a month, I think, in terms of not being able to control the messaging that goes out to the world. Unfortunately, it's not from the MMPRC, but this is the truth that we have to keep in mind, that there has to be an authority that manages the contents that go out that actually affects us in any way as a destination. We saw, unfortunately, global mainstream media take up those news about increasing cost to, having it spun around in a way that it is not really, productive to our branding. It is very sad. You would have noticed that it is really, really counterproductive when we have to wait for a few weeks to get a message out. And unfortunately, I would say that the 4-line statement that came out of the ministry wasn't helpful. I can assure you, and I know from the sources that I have, that ministry is trying really, really hard to get it all sorted out. Thank you very much, Minister, for working to sort it out, but we could do it faster. The damage is really, really bad. On the destination positioning and messaging, I would say that we need to really agree that the safety is the new sexy in the travel industry, at least for now. So how do we change it? How do we get about giving this message? I was on another webinar, and I also suggested there that we need to team up, or MMPRC need to team up with private parties to get this message across as fast and as wide as possible. And right now we need to get this out. So that is something that we can do and people are prepared for. We need to make sure that the sense of safety, message about sense of safety is delivered. For example, our resorts are having specific SOPs on how to handle situations like this, but also the sense of safety, because it is contained in one resort, has to be messaged out. There is a part of the industry that falls a strategically difficult situation in terms of having business run back into normal. There'll be hotel industry where hotels and guest houses will suffer a lot. I think we will have to find a way to get them support too. But I think resorts will have a lesser challenge compared to the hotel sector to come out of this situation. Now, if I look at the second piece of the question, that'll be, how will it affect MICE? I think the new promotion, new messaging is will it cater to MICE? No. In the short run, no. I don't believe it will. Why? Because MICE means people getting together. That is the exact opposite of what we will be preaching right now. What we will be preaching is a upside of a destination. So it will be very slow for us to say that, okay, MICE will take up. But if I say, I think last September, MMPRC MD had discussed about promoting MICE. I think last January, they participated in some events in India as well. So there is a good appetite to bring this small diversification into our product. Unfortunately, timing is not the best right now for MICE to pick up, even though we have some of the best of the MICE setup, for combined with leisure. So that will take some time for MICE to get up to a level where, meetings, incentive groups can become a normal in the near future. So I would say for MICE, not immediate or short term, but it is not lost.
Thank you, Mr. Murad. And now to you, Mr. Taslim, in Bangladesh. Bangladesh has yet to overcome the crisis with its huge impact populations. It's unknown how long this could take. So how are you mitigating the impact, and what are you most focused on right now?
Thank you so much. I would like to thanks first of all SATA to have me on this discussion. So thanks for that question, Sharni. The standard operating procedure for tourism amid pandemic yet to be finalized. So while most of the neighboring countries and other popular tourist destinations of the world have prepared their standard operating procedures, SOPs, to reopen their tourism and hospitality sectors amid the novel coronavirus pandemic, Bangladesh has yet to finalize one. Tour operators and hoteliers said an SOP declared by the government is necessary to attract tourist visitors plus maintain upcoming bookings. Although the pandemic has stopped the movement of tourists all over the world, some of the upcoming bookings of inbound tourists to the country have not been cancelled, according to our colleagues and our tour operators. So we have just recently, yesterday, I discussed with my colleagues. He's in one of the inbound tour operator. He's working in Japanese market, and he's just sharing with me about one issue. They are scheduled plan for the Japanese tourist group intending to visit Bangladesh in October, November this year that have not been cancelled yet. However, their Japanese counterparts are seeking an SOP declared by the government to convince the tourists about the safety of their visit. Most of our neighboring countries like India, Sri Lanka, Maldives, Thailand, Cambodia, Japan have already prepared their manuals for their tourism industry. So far, I get to know Among these countries, the Sri Lankan Ministry of Tourism and Aviation released draft operational guidelines on preparedness and the response for the COVID-19 outbreak of its tourism industry on May. So that an SOP mentioned detailed procedure of the whole journey of the tourist, including detailing with the tour guide, staying at hotels, meals in restaurants, and so on. The World Tourism Organization, UNWTA, has released a set of guidelines recently to help the tourism sector image stronger and more sustainable tourism COVID-19 pandemic. The guidelines highlight the importance of restoring the confidence of travelers through safety and security protocol designed to reduce risk and each step of the tourism value chain. So so WH released interim guidance of the operational consideration for the COVID management in the accommodation sector on March 31st March this year. Following the guidelines of the UNWTO, every country must formulate its own operating manuals, although most of our neighboring countries have declared SOPs. We are still working on ours, so it will be finalized by 15 this year. The government declared the SOP. These visitors and the tourists will be confident about the visiting our countries. And Bangladesh Tourism Board, we are just discussing yesterday. They are working on that SOP, and by this month, 15 June, they will share this SOP, declare they will. And also, you know, in our country, hotelier, they are also saying we the hoteliers made our own manuals, and chain hotels are following their company guidelines. However, there is no alternative to the detailed operating manuals authorized by the government to reopen the sector amid pandemic. So that is from my side. Thank you, Jenny.
Thank you. And now back to you, Mr. Jose. India has opened domestic travel while international operations are yet to be decided. So is the opening of Indian states going to be a game changer for the economy? What changes have you seen since the reopening of domestic travel?
Thank you, Shani. When our government had to make a choice to slowly open various sectors of the economy, the aviation and travel industry, which had been also facing unprecedented loss due to corona-led travel restriction, is one among the primary and welcomed announcement to restart domestic flights. Currently, these operations are helping those people who want to go back to their native places. However, these passengers have to undergo a compulsory quarantine at the landing destination as per the policy enforced by each state, so that the spread of the virus is arrested. Aviation is among the worst affected sectors. IATA estimates the corona pandemic is expected to impact more than 29 lakh jobs in the country, aviation and dependent industries put together. Therefore, there is an urgent need that the government takes specific steps to reopen each sector, slowly unlock each sector. So, domestic airways was one of those. Besides massive losses to airlines, airports are also bleeding as the revenue depends on passenger numbers, which have also impacted revenues. Unlike airlines, which have grounded their aircraft, the airports are still in full gear, and they have to maintain the air traffic management as well as other essential facilities like terminals, runways, and other allied services in readiness. All these are affecting the cash flow of the airport operation. It is therefore necessary at this stage not only to open domestic aviation in a gradual and controlled manner, but help the industry, which has the fastest growing and at the same time contributing hugely to government revenue, unlike the railways or the roadways that India have. They are also in full compliance with the government's health advisories. Further, there is hardly any government investment in aviation sector, while airlines and private airport rises funds, even Airport Authority of India, AAI, hardly gets any budgetary support. They get huge revenues from the air traffic management fees, and also from shares of revenue from airports like Delhi and Mumbai. Therefore, the government will do well to encourage aviation, which was one of our fastest growing sector, and also to prevent airlines, most of whom are struggling to survive. However, it is too early to see any game changer changes in the economy by just few days of domestic flight operation. But yes, in due course, it will. Thank you, Shani.
Thank you, Mr. Hossain. And now to you, Mr. Ramesh again. Hotels are taking drastic changes to its services and what they offer. So where do you think the hoteliers should focus, their focus should be right now?
Yes, Shani. So after the COVID pandemic, the main concern which came across throughout the world is about the cleanliness and the health details. So cleanliness is, I would say, it's not anything new for the trade and for the hotels, because we were maintaining, like, it's one of the main guidelines which hoteliers had on maintaining the cleanliness and also having it accordingly for the clients. So it is not a new thing for the hoteliers, but yet again, it's just a few amendments on the SOPs on how we do the things in the new way. So therefore, for each countries, it depends on the local authority guidelines as well. But yet again, us as a brand, we had these guidelines, most of these guidelines from the start itself on maintaining the cleanliness throughout the hotels to make sure that the guests are safe and the guests have a comfortable stay throughout. So therefore, it's just few amendments on these standards, I would say, and according to the guidelines, and which need to be changed on the situation wise. So therefore, I would say at the moment, hotels wise, the main area that we need to focus is on maintaining what we did throughout these days. So maintaining these standards is the main should be the main focus for hoteliers throughout, to make sure that the cleanliness is maintained and the standards are maintained for all the travelers who comes and meet their expectations and make them secure on the health wise and the cleanliness wise on all the hotels.
Thank you, Mr. Ramesh. And Mr. Murad, we're seeing hotels increasing their presence on digital platforms and offering more health-conscious traveling. So will tourism be only for the survival of the fittest in the future? And what is your opinion on this?
Okay, I'm unmute. Okay, so I will address the last piece first. Survival of the fittest, it had always been a fact, right? It's just that some get bailed out, some don't. But if you are fit, you will survive. But the point on increasing their presence on digital platform, yes, it is, and there's a good reason for that. I think you will all agree with me when I say this. It is possible to hyper target or even mass target on digital platform. Hyper targeting, I mean, like you can mass customize or go to a very detailed level of customization if you want to, in terms of getting a message across to someone. So this is one of the best ways to reach out to the people and tell, hey, look, we are clean and shiny. Yes, please choose us. That is the message that we want to give. We are safe, we are clean, and we want to make sure that their health and safety is well taken care of on our islands or on our resorts or hotels. So that is one way to get the message across. But if you really look at it in the heat of everything that was happening, a lot of tour operators, travel agents, offline agents, they they support us immensely, like local travel agents here or international agents, operators. They support us tremendous, but they depend on people or having that their personalized or actively engaged communication people to people. And unfortunately, during last few weeks, that was off because everyone was at home. They were not working. They were not, working from home, some of them. So getting this message across, because customers were actively asking or looking for this information. So it was about time that hotels went about and put some information about health and safety guidelines, be it from their respective health authorities or what they have prepared by themselves. Like Ramesh mentioned, this cleanliness thing is not new to the trend. That's what we thrive on, really. Only thing is that we didn't have hazmat suits and gloves and the scary looking stuff, but that is exactly what we had been doing. We were doing all this long. Now we have to show it as well. We have to message it right. It's not that we didn't do it. So again, going back to digital platforms, safety takes driver's seat, I said before. We need to get this message across, and it can only be done, it can be very effectively done on online media. If you really look at digital platforms, I think also it is a good measure to reach out to millennials. For example, a country like Maldives, we have, during our good days, became the honeymoon destination for really, I mean, back then it was hip, and we are still a honeymoon destination, but then we are missing out on millennials and the fun part of it for them. So there need to be a subtle diversification on this targeting, and because we know millennials are more resilient in the face of crisis like this, and also crisis specifically like what we are facing right now. Elderly are more prone to health complications if it comes to that. So where do we stand? Where do we get the message out? I think digital platforms are brilliant in reaching out to people, getting the message out, and we should use it more and more often. And there is a slight or subtle need for diversification where we actually start looking at a little bit younger generation as well, because we know they will remain resilient over time. And on the point of survival of the fittest, yes, it is, unfortunately.
Thank you,
Thank you.
Mr. Murad. Mr. Taslim, the need for and use of information and communication technologies has been amplified because of COVID-19. How would this affect the online travel agencies in the future?
Oh, thank you, Shani. Mr. Murad already mentioned a lot of things about the OTA platform. After the COVID, there is no way we have to maintain our marketing strategy, and for the communication that had to be digital communication. There is no way, because after the COVID, I do believe till next 2 years, we cannot communicate physically. So far, I believe. So definitely, still we are trying to communicate for further any communication for our business, not only business, inside our communication, like our team and the office. Still, we have the plan to maintain their distancing, and the digitally we can maintain as well as internal communication. So we work on that. So there is no way we have to maintain the digital communication after the COVID.
And Mr. Taslim, which are the distributors that you would require to take firm action in order to help your efforts after the industry is reopened?
Sorry, Shani, there is some problem with the connection. Pardon, can you repeat again that question?
Which are the disruptors that you would require state authorities to take firm action in order to help your efforts once it's reopened, for example, safety, cleanliness, pollution?
Yes, earlier I'm just mentioning before when I start my first readout. So government still there are work on that, the SOP. First of all, that we need that SOP from the government people, and we still really waiting for that because we need to work on that each and every sector, like the airport, the hotel, the transportation, restaurants, each and every sector. And we are waiting for that, and still maybe by this month we will get that one. And for the communication also, we are saying still after start this pandemic, we are communicating with the government people and other different ministries through the this Zoom platform or some other digital communication.
Okay, thank you, Mr. Taslim. And now, Mr. Ramesh, with staff being laid off in various ways across the tourism industry, what should companies communicate to ensure they will be able to rehire staff to ensure the same high standards of customer service which they used to provide before the pandemic?
Yes, Shani. So it has been, as we all discussed, it has been a challenging time. But yet again, even though the staff has been laid out, ongoing, we all see that the necessity of staffing is going to improve in all the hotels because, as Mr. Murad also said, it's basically about a practice which hotels had before. But yet again, it's about being transparent and also showing the guests that what we have been doing back end, on example how we do clean a room. So basically ongoing, even though the staff has been laid out with the new measurements, the new areas which has been given, the restrictions, the safety measurements which has been given from the brands, from the local authorities. So therefore the requirement of the staff will be there, even though it has been laid out for this period. So ongoing, definitely there will be new job opportunities coming in different ways because there are new standards that we all have to meet on keeping the safety and also cleanliness wise as hotels. So, and also with regard to communicating this same to the clients, yet again, as Mr. Murad said, the transparency is going to be the main thing on how if we take as Ramada Colombo, how the Wyndham has been given the guidelines to make sure that all the guests who are residing with us, we assure the cleanliness and also the safety is assured accordingly.
Thank you, Mr. Ramesh. And as you mentioned earlier, Mr. Jose, the airline industry is one of the industries that has been hit the hardest, and the global airline industry is estimated to experience a severe V-shaped decline throughout 2020 in terms of capacity, with cross-regional variances with respect to severity of the decline. What does this translate to the travel pattern and the hospitality industry?
Yeah. COVID has upended the global travel and brought the world to a standstill for the first time in history. Airline travel companies and the tourism sector as a whole are among the most affected business. It's a fact that the international borders are not open skies until policies changes, but the air cargo operations remains as an essential transportation lifeline that matters more than ever. All cargo airlines continues their operations to ensure the timely and most efficient shipment of goods worldwide. And we now see commercial airlines converting passenger aircraft into cargo aircraft to expand their operations. We will travel again, but it will not be the same. Even when borders reopen, travelers must trust that boarding a plane is safe and that he or she will be able to enter the destination country. New health safety protocol and systems will need to be in place, and these are yet to be defined. Touchless travel, document scanning, voice commands, self-check-in kiosk, scrupulous security scanners, digital health passports, and digital identity may have to take place to eliminate risk. With reversed immigration and travel policies from nations, soon the travel pattern of passenger airlines will also take role. However, the leisure and MICE travel from India could take slightly longer. To encourage this sector, it will have to be a collective effort from the industry. Subsidized accommodation rates needn't be the recommended formula. Instead, the ease of formalities at port of arrival, like immigration visa, attractive incentives on airport fee, GST refunds, and other entertainment taxes could be. Introduction of new usage charges and handling fees at airport shouldn't be the source of targeted income for the industry to rebuild. Instead, the aviation and hospitality need to work in hand to build back the travelers' confidence. Countries of South Asia will probably find a lot of internal travel. Easing formalities, at least within the region, will be a step to promote tourism, not just among ourselves, but also to the world travelers. Not slowly, but eventually we will be able to replace the sunny side of life, the God's own country, the incredible India, the so Sri Lanka. Happiness is a place, Bhutan. Visit Bangladesh before others come, and lifetime experiences in Nepal. Thank you, Shani.
Thank you, Mr. Jose. And now, Mr. Murad, Maldives Tourism Minister has announced the reopening of borders by for tourists by 1st of July. With 3 weeks remaining, all your properties prepared to cater with the requirements given?
Yeah, it is a great thing that the ministry did, I believe. Not all the hotels are prepared. I speak with a lot of my counterparts. I understand some of them are going to stretch the opening date until October. We are okay to open. We understand it will be slow to none in terms of arrival from July, because the feeder markets are not opening, the flights are not as busy as it should be. So there is a challenge, honestly, especially related to opening with low occupancy. And this will be a problem that all the hotels will face. Your fixed costs remain. So, cost-wise, it becomes very, very expensive for us to run on low occupancy when with a soft start. But there has to be a firm opening date given for others to prepare. For example, other international airlines to start scheduling, other countries, other tour operators to start selling. So if it is July, we know, okay, from July now you can, and it could be October, it's fine. But now the most important thing is we have a fixed date that tells us that we will be open. Is it enough? I think it's not enough. It's never enough to prepare, given the SOPs, given the changes that we have to do in terms of operating procedures, in terms of trainings that we need to do, and rightfully so. Everyone has to be a kind of a specialist in handling health crisis now on the resort islands or hotels, and they have to, because health is not a joke. So these things need to be taken care of, and we are taking a lot of measures at Villa Hotels. We're taking a lot of measures to ensure that we have world-class, setup to handle situations if it comes to that. But world-class setup in terms of cleanliness to make sure that our guests will have best of the holiday experience with us. Again, for us, it is very important to get this message across as well. And now that's why we are saying that, hey, look, Maldives Tourism Promotion Authority, let's get together. Let's get the message of health and safety out. Let's get the message of natural seclusion, naturally social distancing by design, to get these messages out to the market to say that, okay, I'm good in the Maldives anyways. And there are very few countries that can say so, from what I know. What we see, like I said before, is a slow pickup, but it is very important to have the gates open for others to prepare, because we are not going to be the primary destination targets for many airlines, because they have bigger demand, possibly bigger business needs. in some other destinations. So we will have to go in front of the line by ourselves and say, look, we are ready and open for business. Let's get the business coming to the Maldives. So are we ready? Is it too early? I think it's never too early, because we have to start at some point, and earlier the better, especially given that it will be a slow start. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Murad. Mr. Suraj, do you have anything to ask our panelists?
Yeah, like we have a few more minutes of airtime, so I'll just quickly like to throw a question at Mr. Jose and Shovon. So basically, since both of you represent the travel, travel side of things, so what do you think would be a major trend that we can see developing in the coming days? So pertaining to especially travel, we all know we are looking at various options and stuff like that. Post-COVID, what do you think would be one major trend? I mean, individually, like it doesn't have to be the same, but what in your personal capacity and experience as professionals in the travel field, what is that one thing that you think we can see emerging? So probably Shovon, you could answer that first for me, and then then we'll hear from Jose.
Oh, thank you, Suraj, once again. So, after the COVID, what will be the open for the tourism sector? That will be the domestic tourism. That will be immediate start after the COVID. Then it will open the regional tourism, and it will take some more time for the outbound and as well as the inbound, because the people are really very much scared about to fly and go to anywhere. So still but saddest part for the industry, don't take it otherwise. We all are the entrepreneur and the owner are working on a very good position. So last night I'm just watching one news, and what the problem is with the nature and the environment in during this lockdown. We are watching the gradually the nature and the environment is doing very good. The thing is, that we are using the plastics. Suraj, I'm just already I tried to answer your questions, but I'm just mentioning another one important point. So don't take it otherwise. So we are using the hand gloves with the plastic and the rubber one, and as well as we are using the PP. But do we think about that crash where that trash is going on? Again, there is a problem with the trash. I'm talking about the environment. We should think about, because here is two hotelier and three of panelists is here. So I'm just suddenly I got my mind. That's why I'm just sharing with you. And another thing is we are most of the people more than 1 decade is doing business in these industries. And my humble request to our colleagues always last few months, I'm just sharing with you, brother, we are in same position we have been facing last few months. So we should consider one thing with all this crisis moment about our staff, about our next situation. So most of the people we are thinking, okay, we can go to lay off our staff. So we should consider on that. Definitely, we are working on last 12 years or more than that. So definitely, we earn a lot of money as well as through their colleagues. So
Yeah,
we should work on that.
Yeah, thank you, Shovon. I think I got your point there. Like probably what you're trying to say is, like, along with whatever trends that are emerging, there should be a trend that should emerge which takes care of staff, and they should be given equal priorities when we are dealing with the COVID, because their lives are also at stake along with our business. So that's a wonderful point. Thank you for raising that. Over to you, Jose. What do you think is the one important emerging trend that you see post COVID? You're on mute.
Suraj, it was the travel that we all were missing these days. We had ample time to spend with family and do other clerical works or work on your business and everything. Only thing that is missing is the travel part. And as Shovon said, probably the domestic travel. Yes, you could have for people traveling to nearby destinations, which is more safer. They take surface transfers so that they can at least drive back. Or in places like Maldives, they take a ferry, go to the nearby islands, and come back. Probably that could be one option if people looking for a leisure or a holiday. But there are other travels like the business and the medical, and for those children who have been studying in international universities need to return back. People working at different countries need to fly back. Diplomats have to move. Other social workers, everything. People are currently in a situation where they're completely unaware whether next time they travel abroad, do they, how safe they return back to their own country. Therefore, it might take a little more time for itself to decide and then the travel to come back onto the track. Secondly, if I talk about the leisure market, probably all my passengers or people who I have handled, or for me to initiate the first traveler into confidence, I have to build confidence in ourselves. We have to build, and then he's going to completely listen to your advices. He's not going to follow an online advice. Probably he will ask you, yes, which airline, and yes, do I get back? What are the formalities that I might have to face? If there is a quarantine period, what could be my trouble if I have to do multiple checkups at destinations? Am I safe, firstly? And is my family very safe? So you will have to take your first client into confidence. So it might need a little bit of exercise at both local tourism as well as international or outbound travel. I think it'll be a little too early for me to make any suggestions or that, because we haven't done that exercise. We are still waiting to hear from authorities and to hear from each department that things are opening up. We are happy to see that Sri Lanka and Maldives have already decided on the dates and they have a plan in progress. This will help us also to plan, put back things on papers, and then start communicating with probably the honeymooners and people who have been holding on holidays. Thank you.
Can I say something? I think talking about the trends that are about to happen because of this, I think it is a digital transformation of economy in one way or the other. Like, for example, those grocery orders that you can place online now. It used to be a visit. It is very comfortable now. People are getting used to it. My mom can do that. The point is, it has forced us to adapt one thing. Likely, hotels will also do the similar kind of setup, and it is already happening. Like touchless check-in, hospitality experience that we could potentially give. Now, a bigger question will be, is it going to last like this? They go back to normal. I would bet on the second one because we as desire to stay close, and that touch is definitely something that we cannot avoid.
All right. Thank you, Murad. I think we experienced some disturbance at the end of it, but then quickly over to Ramesh before we wind up. We have just about 2 minutes. So based on what the rest of the three panelists have said, now Shovon had raised the thing about domestic travel, and Murad had just said, hotels need to be prepared in a way where things are more digital. So my question to you, Ramesh, would be like, with the increase in domestic travel, a trend emerging like domestic travel, how are hotels going to prepare themselves? Now, certain brands have been posted for international travelers. You have a lifestyle built around that brand, catering to a certain segment of travelers. And then suddenly now your first revenue can come from the domestic travel. So how does a hotel or a brand, prepare itself for that?
As I said, Suraj, actually, we had sort of a similar situation last year after the Easter egg. So, where we almost all the hotels were depending on the domestic travelers and also on the F&B plus the event revenues. So, therefore, I think, as all the panelists said, domestic travel is gonna play a major role on the industry for next immediate few months, which is going to take place. So therefore, hotels wise, I would say it's there's no bigger difference. All guests we should treat equally. So therefore, domestic travelers, international travelers, all will be equally treated on this situation, and also mainly about the safety and the cleanliness at the hotels. So that will be treated equally on all the hotels, and also with the brand guidelines which we have got else also, like all the hotels, mainly as I said before as well, the cleanliness is going to play a major role. And this situation, I would say, the brand hotels will have a bigger visibility and a credibility which is going to take place on guest perspective, because the assurance need to be there. So brands will definitely have a bigger plus on this situation when considering, when the guests are considering on selecting their accommodation options.
Okay, wonderful. Thanks, Ramesh. So I think we are right about time to wind up the show. Thank you, all of you, for joining in and sharing your wonderful thoughts and positivity, and encouraging the rest of the industry and sharing that for positivity, so that we can look forward for a brighter future post COVID. Over to you, Shani.
Okay, thank you, everyone. As Suraj just mentioned, I heard a lot of new information. Thank you for your opinion on this conversation. This was episode 7 of a SATA Digital Travel Conversation titled Open into a New Normal. Thank you for watching, and please stay safe.
Thank you.